Okay, so thinking about a career as an import-export manager, specifically in the hardware, plumbing, and heating equipment world.
Really interesting field.
Yeah, and especially now, right? I mean, with global supply chains becoming
Yeah,
more important than ever, I feel like.
absolutely.
We've got a stack of info here from RoleCatcher.
Okay.
And for those who don't know, it's a career platform. We'll tell you a bit more about it later. But they've got this detailed guide. We're going to break down the good stuff. So what this job really entails, if it's a good fit for you, and how to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, it's not just about moving pipes and wrenches from point A to point B, I can tell you that.
Right. So let's paint a picture for our listener. Imagine this. It's Tuesday morning, and you're an import-export manager. What's on your plate?
Well, first off, forget the leisurely coffee.
Yeah.
You're probably starting your day catching up on emails from your suppliers in, say, China about a delay in brass fittings due to a typhoon.
Whoa, talk about starting the day with a curveball.
Exactly, and it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
You might then need to jump on a call with your logistics team in Europe, making sure a shipment of those specialty Italian faucets is navigating customs smoothly.
Because nobody wants a holdup at customs, especially when you're dealing with, time-sensitive construction projects, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And speaking of regulations, you might also have to spend part of your morning reviewing the latest amendments to, say, the U.S. Safe Drinking Water Act, making sure your imported plumbing components are in full compliance.
So there are legal and safety aspects to consider on top of just getting the products from one place to another.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the financial side.
Mm-hmm.
You could be finalizing a letter of credit with your bank to secure payment for a large shipment of boilers heading to South America.
So you're basically juggling a million moving parts across different time zones, languages, and regulations, all before lunchtime.
That's a typical day. For an import-export manager, it's high pressure, it's fast-paced, and it requires a unique blend of skills and knowledge.
It sounds like it, but also kind of exhilarating for the right person.
That's the key. You have to thrive on this kind of organized chaos. You're a problem solver at heart, and you're passionate about global trade.
Speaking of skills, the RoleCatcher guide mentions that having a deep understanding of trade regulations is crucial in this line of work.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about knowing how to fill out paperwork, it's about understanding the why behind it, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Take, for instance, the complexities of importing heating equipment. Each country has its own set of standards and certifications. You might be dealing with the CE marking for Europe, the UKCA mark for the UK, or UL certification for North America, all for the same product.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
No.
You need to be well-versed in the specific requirements of each market you're dealing with.
Exactly, and that's just one example.
Here.
You also need to be on top of import tariffs, anti-dumping regulations, and even things like product labeling laws, which can vary wildly from country to country.
It's like being a global plumbing detective, making sure everything is up to code across borders.
That's a great way to put it. And don't forget, you're not just dealing with regulations. You've got logistics to navigate as well.
Right. That whole world of actually getting these hardware products from factories overseas to, say, a distributor's warehouse in the Midwest.
And that's where things can get really interesting. You're coordinating with freight forwarders, negotiating shipping rates, maybe even considering different modes of transport, sea freight, air freight, maybe even rail, depending on the urgency and the destination.
I imagine all that comes with its own set of headaches. What happens when a container ship gets stuck in the Suez Canal, or there's a shortage of shipping containers?
Those aren't just hypothetical scenarios. Those are the realities of the job. A good import-export manager needs to be able to think on their feet, come up with alternative solutions, and keep those supply chains moving even when things go wrong.
It's like a high-stakes game of Tetris, but with plumbing supplies instead of blocks.
And speaking of technology, that's another area where things have really evolved in this field. Remember those spreadsheets we talked about earlier?
Yeah, those don't exactly scream cutting edge.
Well, these days, import-export managers are using sophisticated software platforms to manage every step of the process. Think SAP, Global Trade Services, Oracle Transportation Management. These are powerful tools that help optimize routing, track shipments in real time, even automate customs documentation.
So you need to be tech savvy on top of everything else.
Absolutely. Being comfortable with these digital tools is no longer optional. It's essential for success in this industry.
It sounds like the learning curve never really ends in this career.
And that's what makes it so exciting. There's always something new to learn, new challenges to tackle, and new ways to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of global trade.
So let's say someone listening to this is hooked. They're ready to dive headfirst into the world of import-export. What advice would you give them based on the RoleCatcher guide?
Well, first off, don't underestimate the power of practical experience. Internships, even if they're unpaid, are invaluable.
Even if it's just shadowing someone or helping with the more administrative tasks?
Absolutely. It gives you a foot in the door, a chance to see the day-to-day realities of the job and start building your network.
The guide also mentioned the importance of networking, connecting with people in the industry.
And that doesn't just mean attending stuffy industry conferences. Join online forums, connect with people on LinkedIn, maybe even reach out to experienced import-export managers for informational interviews.
So be proactive and build relationships with people who are already doing what you aspire to do.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions, even if they seem basic.
It's all about learning the ropes and building those connections early on, right?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And while you're building your network, think about bolstering your credentials.
You mean like getting certified?
Exactly. There are some reputable certifications out there, like the Certified International Trade Professional designation, that can give you a real edge in the job market.
It's like a stamp of approval that says, hey, I know my stuff when it comes to international trade.
Precisely. And those certifications often cover the nitty-gritty of import-export procedures, like Incoterms.
Incoterms.
Yeah, those are the internationally recognized terms that define who's responsible for what in an international sale.
Okay, so Incoterms, that sounds like something I should probably understand if I'm dealing with,
Yeah.
shipments, crossing borders and all that.
They're essential. They clarify things like who pays for the freight, who handles insurance, who's responsible for customs clearance, all that crucial stuff that can make or break a deal.
So it's not just about knowing where a shipment is going, it's about understanding the entire chain of responsibility along the way.
Exactly. It's about seeing the big picture of global trade, from the factory floor to the end customer.
Okay, so we've talked about the skills, the experience, the certifications. Let's say you've got all that covered. What about actually landing that dream job? RoleCatcher is a career platform, after all. Any tips from their guide on how to stand out to potential employers?
Well, this is where your digital savviness comes in handy again. You've got to leverage those online platforms, LinkedIn industry job boards, even company websites.
Right, because gone are the days of just sending out a generic resume and hoping for the best.
Exactly. Tailor your resume and cover letter to each specific position. Highlight those skills and experiences that align with the job description, and don't be afraid to show some personality. Let your passion for global trade shine through.
So it's about telling your story, showing how your skills and experiences connect with the company's needs.
And remember those AI-powered tools we talked about earlier? Well, some platforms, like RoleCatcher, offer resources that can help you optimize your resume and even practice your interview skills.
So you can get feedback on your answers to common interview questions, maybe even do a mock interview with their AI.
Exactly. It's like having a personal career coach in your pocket.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful. I feel like we've really unpacked what it takes to succeed as an import-export manager in this industry.
It's a demanding but rewarding path, that's for sure.
So to wrap things up, what would you say is the most important thing for someone to consider if they're thinking about this career path?
I'd say it's about having a global mindset. It's about being curious about other cultures, comfortable with different languages, and passionate about connecting the world through trade.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about moving products, it's about building bridges across borders.
Beautifully said.
Well, on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. In a world that's increasingly interconnected, the role of the import-export manager is more vital than ever. So if you're up for the challenge, the opportunities are out there. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.